Hi, Dan Fleisch again, and in this video I'm going to take about 5 minutes to tell you how this book came about and to acknowledge and thank a few of the many people who have helped make A Student's Guide to the Schrödinger Equation possible. I say a few of the many people because it really does take a village to produce a book like this, and although credit for a good book and blame for a not so good book tend to accrue to the author, after 4 students' guides, I've learned that the contributions of the editors, content managers, proofreaders, publication managers, and marketing staff are every bit as important as those of the author. I've worked closely with Dr. Simon Kaplan, Dr. Nick Gibbons, Rasheen Munnelly, but there are dozens of others at Cambridge University Press whose efforts have been essential to the process. Responsibility for the bad bits? That rests solely with me. Beyond the people who work directly on A Student's Guide to the Schrödinger Equation, I also want to acknowledge several people who have enabled me to write this book. That starts with J.F. James, who wrote a book called A Student's Guide to Fourier Transforms, first published by Cambridge University Press in 1995. It was that book that got me thinking about students' guides, which I consider to be books written for students rather than for other professors. When I approached Cambridge 10 years ago about publishing A Student's Guide to Maxwell's Equations, it was physics editor Dr. John Fowler who helped me answer the question, who in the world wants to read another book about electromagnetics when so many good ones are already out there? That book is now in its 16th printing, and it's been translated into Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and Italian. So I'm convinced that the answer is students and lifelong learners would like to read such a book. Students' Guides are now a formal series at Cambridge University Press with 14 titles published and several more on the way. We've been receiving lots of suggestions about topics for students' guides, and the Schrödinger equation ranks high on that list. As I mentioned in the video preface, I consider the most important characteristic of any student's guide to be clear, plain language explanations. I learned the value of clear explanations and plain language from 3 world-class physicists and engineers with whom I've had the privilege of working. William E. Gordon of Cornell and Rice Universities, Bill Hunsinger of the University of Illinois, and John Krause of Ohio State. Bill Gordon designed the 1,000-foot Arecibo radio telescope in Puerto Rico and was my dissertation advisor at Rice in the late 1970s. Bill Hunsinger hired me in the mid-'80s to develop signal processing applications for his startup company, and John Krause was director of the Ohio State Radio Observatory when I was doing radar work in Columbus in the 1990s. Gordon and Krause both did pioneering work in electromagnetics and radio astronomy, and Hunsinger invented the acoustic charge transport device. But as inspiring as it was to work for 3 researchers who have contributed so much to our science and technology, my biggest takeaway from those experiences was that doing good work is important, but describing and documenting that work in a way that others can readily understand is equally important. I think about Bill Gordon, Bill Hunsinger, and John Krause every time I step in front of a class, and over the years, my students have rewarded my efforts by seriously engaging the material, by asking questions and making comments that have shown me new perspectives on familiar subjects. Attempting to answer those questions has not only improved my pedagogy, it's also deepened my understanding of the underlying physics and mathematics. By far the greatest enabler in my life has been Jill Janola. As you might be able to tell from the fact that the lights in our dining room are labeled A and B, no part of our home or personal lives is exempt from the demands of impromptu physics demonstrations, aha moments, and what-if questions. Jill has put up with this for about 25 years now, and as I say in the book, for that I can offer no explanation. Thanks.